Nova Scotia will allow people to enter from New Brunswick without any restrictions starting June 30th. And those who got their second dose at least 14 days ago can enter without isolating right now. 2 days ago, Nova Scotia said it would continue to require people from New Brunswick to self-isolate, but it dropped that rule for people coming from PEI and Newfoundland and Labrador. Nova Scotia's Chief Medical Officer Robert Strang says the Delta variant is his biggest concern about lifting restrictions on travelers.
I'll stand firm from a public health perspective that you're taking on risk by allowing people to come in without isolation, because the isolation is what is the other layer of protection, and if you remove that, you really have no other layers of protection. So we need to keep solid with our borders while we build our own internal protection, if you will, by having sufficient levels of uptake of the second dose of vaccine.
Iain Rankin is the Premier of Nova Scotia. He's in Halifax. Premier Rankin, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me today.
So traffic is now flowing freely between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. How important was it to get that blockade resolved?
Oh, incredibly important. We faced a blockade there for hours. Luckily, nobody was hurt. It was safely dismantled last night, and two people, at least I think 2 or 3 people were arrested. But I was happy to see a flow of goods and services once again. Some healthcare services were disrupted, schools were disrupted, and the daily lives of people that frequent back and forth.
We spoke with Premier Blaine Higgs last night. He told us that he proposed sharing data from where travelers are coming from with you so that you could follow up to deal with your concerns about travelers coming through New Brunswick from outside of the Atlantic bubble. Are you going to take him up on that proposal?
Today we clarified what the plan is, and so we asked for another week. Dr. Strang and the public health team wanted another week of comfort to allow more second doses into arms of Nova Scotians, given that New Brunswick has their border open to the rest of the country, and they do have some safety mechanisms in place. We spoke about that as a group yesterday. My team wants that extra, what it now amounts to 6 days, to the 30th to alleviate all of the restrictions. So New Brunswick will be equivalent to the other 2 provinces for what we used to call the bubble, so no isolation requirements. But for the next 6 days, we do have the modified restrictions still in place from what we announced before that, and we're doing that as a caution, given that there are now all Canadians from across the country able to come into New Brunswick. They are checking them, and we're happy to see that, but this is still our plan to wait until the 30th, June 30th, when we bring New Brunswick in.
Okay, so the data sharing compromise that Premier Higgs floated in the Atlantic meeting yesterday, that doesn't get over the bar, essentially is what you're saying. So you're sticking with treating New Brunswickers coming across the border the same as you would anyone else from outside of, say, Quebec or Ontario who were to come through.
For 6 days, and that's accurate. And I'll commend Premier Higgs for bringing that forward. It's not a new thing, as they're just willing to share some of the information from travelers coming into the province. But it doesn't fully address the concerns from public health, given that there could be people from New Brunswick or even Nova Scotians that would travel to New Brunswick and come back, that could come in contact with residents from other provinces now that their border is opened up just a little bit earlier than us. So we're just waiting an extra 6 days, and I appreciate the patience. We can get a lot more shots in their arms during that period of time, and so we've said over the last few days that the aim is for June 30th for New Brunswick to come in, and we've clarified exactly how that will take place as of 8 a.m. on the 30th.
So where do you think you're going to be in terms of the percentage of Nova Scotians who will be fully vaccinated by the 30th? I mean, is there a threshold that you need to hit before these measures come into place, or does it happen on that date no matter where you are?
That will happen no matter where we are on vaccine uptake. We've exceeded our targets for our phased opening plan. We're actually at roughly 72%. So we track the entire population. I think most provinces track ages 12 and up, those eligible. So we actually have the highest percentage of the population with vaccines with the first dose. So we're not worried about hitting those targets, but Dr. Strang was really adamant that we get broader coverage of our second doses for those that are over the age of 65. And because we're ramping up so much, we'll have significantly higher uptake by that point in time. So we are confident that June 30th is the date for New Brunswick, and then the rest of the country as well will start to allow travel in, and there's modified isolation. But if you have 2 doses, you can come in without any isolation requirements or testing.
So I want to just jump back to the blockade that happened yesterday and lasted, I guess, for about 24 hours or so. An opposition MLA, Elizabeth Smith McCrossan, she was sort of at the center of this, encouraging it in some degree, and she was kicked out of the Progressive Conservative caucus today for her role in encouraging what happened at the Nova Scotia-New Brunswick border. What's your reaction to that move, to have her kicked out of that caucus?
I was disappointed to see a member of the legislature with such an active role in encouraging people to come out and block a major highway, a major piece of infrastructure that's critical for people to get around and access services and commerce. I thought it was completely inappropriate. My understanding was the leader of the Conservative Party supported her efforts, but I'm happy to see that he has since, obviously, he's made a decision to remove her from his team. So again, that it was an inappropriate action, and she's no longer part of that caucus.
You're going to have an election this summer, Premier. That's the anticipation for a lot of people, that Nova Scotians will go to the polls sometime in the next couple of months. Do you think this will play a role in that? And have you got a clear sense on when your writ date may be?
I don't have a clear sense yet. We just passed our 4-year mark at the end of May. We're still in our phased reopening plan, so we're really focused on public safety and cautiously opening up. We need to keep the pandemic as the highest priority right now. We're in phase 2 of a phased opening plan. We're set to begin phase 3 on June 30th, and we'll continue to focus on the pandemic and investing in Nova Scotians. And I look forward to an election sometime in the future.
Okay, Premier Iain Rankin, thank you so much for your time.
Cheers. All the best. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.